Hi, I'm Chet Marchwinski at the Lean Enterprise Institute, and I'm joined today by Judy Worth. She's an LEI faculty member and co-author of Perfecting Patient Journeys, and she's facilitated value stream improvement efforts in healthcare and other organizations, both manufacturing and as well as healthcare.
And other office and service.
Office and service as well. So Judy, thanks a lot for coming by and sharing your knowledge with us, because I had a question. It's been about 16 years since Learning to See came out, which introduced the tool value stream mapping into the English-speaking world. So it's been around for a long time. Are people using it properly? Are we all experts at it now after all this time?
That's a good question, Chet. In terms of using properly, I would say, of course, it depends on what your definition of properly is. There's a lot more mileage to be gotten out of maps than I think most people typically get. We did a mapping workshop today with people from probably about 8 or 9 different organizations representing manufacturing, government, office and service, healthcare. Yeah, and all of them had had some experience doing maps. But as my colleagues sometimes say, Eisenhower said, plans are nothing, planning is everything. And I'm reluctant to say maps are nothing, but there's a difference between maps and mapping. And we think that an awful lot of the benefit that comes out of value stream maps comes from the process of mapping with other people, having the right people in the group to do the mapping, as opposed to just generating a map. And by that I mean, typically we're not talking about having somebody go from area to area to area asking questions and then producing a map that they're going to share with other people. We're talking about getting people who represent all the processes in a given value stream, and the customers and suppliers, because you want those voices in the room as well, together to jointly construct the map. And that's current state map. We understand a lot of people are not doing future state maps. So current state map, future state map, and an implementation plan for how you're going to get from current to future state, and a lot of other pieces around that process, or process from our friends in Canada.
So what as you work with companies or you go to teach the workshops, what do you see happening? Are there common pitfalls, whether it's not bringing in the suppliers and not bringing in people from other areas? What do you see as the main problems people are struggling with?
So that's a big one, making sure you've got the right people in the room. But another piece of it has to do with setting up the mapping experience. So early on, when we first started doing maps, we would go in, anybody who wanted to do improvement work, we'd help them do a workshop. What we found is if you really want to impact the organization, you need to link the value streams you select for improvement to your business problems. So we always want to spend some time with leadership doing something we call pre-scoping, which is looking at where are you not performing to purpose and what value streams are linked to that gap, and then selecting those value streams with priorities for improvement. So that's a key piece of it. The next piece after that, once you've selected a value stream improvement, comes from completing what we call a value proposition, or in a lot of people's parlance that would be a charter. And that's a deeper dive into that value stream that defines things like who needs to come be involved in the workshop, who's the leadership group that will help guide that process and stay involved in regular reflections about performance of the improvement effort. Where does the process start? Where does it end? What are the objectives for improvement? And a number of other things involved there. So, like anything else, if you're going to do a good job of it, you need to spend some time before you get in the room laying out the boundaries and making some decisions about what needs to happen. And that's all before we do the mapping. And then we get into implementation planning and adding some other lean ways to do implementation and monitoring performance that make a difference.
Thanks. It sounds like there's a lot more to mapping than mapping. Yeah. And maybe you can get into a little bit about the planning end of it, because you teach a workshop on value stream mapping and sustainable system improvement. So let's say I've read the books on mapping and maybe even gone to a workshop or two. So what will I learn in this workshop that will help me overcome some of the problems I've had with mapping?
Okay. among other things, sort of a recycling back on what we said earlier, this process, we call this process see together, learn together, act together, and improve together. So we hope, partly convinces people that to generate a map by yourself and just present it to other people is not going to get you very far. Now my background's in organizational development, so I will tell you that in contrast to some of my colleagues who are engineers, I see this as primarily an organizational development tool. It is a way to build a team of people to develop a consensus on how a process or value stream works today and how well it works, to develop a consensus on a future state vision of how it might work, develop an implementation plan for how to get there. And that plan will be built around the changes that it's going to require to get from where we are now to where we might be 18 months to 2 years down the road. And building in a system where you've got groups of people working with very specific goals that include the purpose of the goal, what impact are we trying to have on the value stream performance, which also implies that there will be some metric or measurement that allows you to observe that. We also incorporate that a focus on experimentation so that in getting from a current state value stream to a future state value stream, the value stream future state is itself a hypothesis about making changes at the system level for that value stream of how we can improve the performance, and implementation itself is a series of experiments. So until we run those experiments and do plan, do, check, act, plan, do, check, adjust on that, we don't know if that future state is possible or whether that future state needs to change. So we're very much into problem solving, closing the gap at a system level of performance, and using all that lean thinking about how to make improvements and solve problems in getting from current state to future state.
I think that's an excellent way of looking at the future state as a hypothesis. You're not there yet. So
That's right.
Thanks a lot for sharing that and all the other information and coming by today. And thanks for watching, and we wish you continued good luck in making your lean leap.